In this video, I'm going to show you how to heal your colitis. Now, most of you are probably taking the modern medicine route or thinking about going the holistic route with diet and supplements. And if you don't do this correctly, you are going to waste a lot of time, a lot of money, and just a lot of unnecessary pain and suffering. A lot of the modern medicine and holistic routes don't address the root cause. I'm going to show you something called German New Medicine. And this is what I used to get. I had both inflammation in my small and in my large intestine. I've helped many other people do this. Like literally tried everything, but within like a few weeks, dramatic change in their symptoms, a few days, like all their food intolerances go away. And within a month gain 10, 20 pounds, depending on the situation, within 3 months, looking like a normal person again. But being able to function like a normal person again within days, if not weeks, depending on someone's condition. And you can only do this if you address these things. And many of the time when people do this with holistic and modern medicine, they're addressing these things behind the scenes. So stay and watch this video if you really want to get better. I assume you want to get better as fast as possible. So, all right, let's talk about why diet's bad for a second. So colitis is the colon, right? So if we have the colon here, we got a colon, and then we have the small intestine before it. The colon does not digest food. The colon doesn't digest food. It's arguably whether it digests, it absorbs food, yet alone it for sure doesn't digest it. So, and you also ate these foods your whole entire life, and you didn't have symptoms until the age of 20, or whichever age you got it. And most of your friends and family eat whatever they want, and they have no digestive issues. Why is that? So what Dr. Hammer discovered is that colitis always starts after a traumatic event. For me, it was after a breakup in college. That's when I had my worst flare. I've seen many people in high school, like after they get into a fight with their friends. I've seen it with this case study we're going to use. It was after they were working for their dad, and he had a fight with his dad about the job, and he ended up quitting. And that's when his symptoms first started. Usually it's breakups, getting fired, losing the house, family fight, a death in the family. What was the traumatic event? And now, when this traumatic event happens, essentially, like you don't know how to psychologically deal with it. You don't have like a mental solution for it. So your brain goes, okay, well, I'm going to put an organ into overdrive to help you deal with this. And the way that you, not consciously, but the way that you subconsciously interpreted this is, what is crap I want to get rid of, but I can't. And to take it like even a step further, what was, if you have polyps, if you have, like if you look at your colon like this, and you have polyps, this aids with digestion, with breaking down. I know I just said the colon doesn't digest, but this is like for the majority of life on Earth, we've been like little microscopic beings for, I think, 3 billion out of the 4 billion years we've been on Earth. So we still have this archaic programming built into us. So what is crap I wanted to break down and get rid of, but I couldn't? And if it's a flat growth, and when you look at someone's colonoscopy, or you get their readings, there'll be thickening of the intestinal walls, or all of the large intestine will just look bright red and nasty. And that has more of a feeling of what was something I couldn't absorb. I almost had it fully digested. I had it fully digested. All I had to do was absorb it, but I couldn't. and you were like at the tail end of like you were about to close a deal on a house or like a big business deal. All we had to do was sign on the dotted line, and then it just went to shit. It went to crap. So that's the first step. I know a lot of you like these detective movies. You need to be a real detective about this. Every time I talk to somebody, they're like, oh, nothing stressed me out. And I'm like, all right, well, when did you first get sick? So for this person, it was, I don't know, it was like 2020. What was stressing you out in 2020? You were admitted to the hospital in winter of 2020. You know, like what was going on? Nothing. Just entertain me. Well, who were you working for? Oh, I just quit my job with my dad and I started working for a new person. Okay, how was that stressful? Well, me and my dad got into a big fight. Oh man, now I remember. And the new job that I got, my new boss was worse than my dad. All right, we're getting somewhere. Now we have identified maybe the conflict. See, when I start talking about it this way, a lot of people think that it's caused by stress. And in a way, yes and no. It's actually caused by a very specific traumatic event. Not just stress in general, but a very specific traumatic event. What was this little bam right there? You know, you probably had hundreds of arguments with your dad, but what was the one argument you had that really shook you down to your core? We need to remember that. And you might not get it on the first time you sit down and do this brainstorming. There's times I've met with people like 3 times, and you know, on the 3rd time of meeting them, they're like, oh, I remembered, you know, I got caught by the cops and I had to jump off the roof and I broke my leg. I got caught by the cops and I got kicked off the soccer team. And I'm like, how did you possibly forget that? The brain suppresses trauma because it's too much in the brain will shut down in certain circumstances. So one of the things that I do to help people flesh this out is I have a 13-day protocol. And so essentially what this 13-day protocol does is it has like exercises on it to help yank up these memories out of that's trapped in our subconscious mind. Now, this traumatic event, when it happened, you could not consciously deal with it. But now you are probably more capable, like you already, so when it's conflict active, you're not going to have symptoms. So he got into a fight with his dad, he did not have symptoms. And then a couple of months later, he found a new job and he quit. That's when his symptoms started. That's when the conflict got resolved. The body starts to develop these extra gut cells. And then when the conflict gets resolved, the body gets rid of them and we get symptoms. This is, I know you're going, just get to the point and tell me what to do. I am telling you what you need to do this. This is the therapy. It's not like the normal going to the therapist where you sit somebody down in a chair and you just talk about sad stuff until you cry and, you know, okay, I had a good cry, now I'm over it, when you're probably not. Okay, here's some, you know, crazy pills. It's not like that at all. It's not going to Mount Fuji and meeting with the monks and, you know, starving yourself and suppressing every negative emotion that you get. Interesting fact, the monks that aren't allowed to talk have more health issues than the monks that are allowed to talk, because the monks who can talk have more tools to deal with their conflicts, so their brain doesn't feel the need to put certain organs in and out of overdrive to help them overcome the conflict. Even though they are Buddhist monks and have way more mental discipline than you ever will. This is subconscious. It is subconscious. Now, once we identify the conflict, this is how I normally do it. I start with the resolution. When did your symptoms start? When did you get your first flare? Cell plus, cell plus, cell plus. You don't even know. Then it gets resolved. That's when did you have those horrible fevers? This is what I start with. And making that timeline is part of the therapy. Bringing it to consciousness. If you don't do this, you're in for a world of pain. If you go on a diet, you're literally just wasting money, and you're torturing yourself and making yourself a social outcast for literally no benefit. I first developed gluten intolerance, at the age of like 23, 24, when I first started going on these crazy diets, and nobody wanted to hang out with me because I was probably the most annoying person on the planet. Oh, that has glyphosate in it. Oh, that has gluten in it. Nobody wanted to be around me at all, unless they were crazy like me as well. And again, even when you got two crazy holistic nutbags together, those two people are so crazy, they still find a way to fight. We're so mentally unhinged from this subconscious. Most of the things that we do today, guys, are subconscious. I grabbed a Coke today because I needed energy. It's a subconscious. I needed protein today because I worked out or I did a lot of physical activity, and my muscle fibers were breaking down and they needed to be built back up again. So my brain gave me the feeling of hunger for protein. It's very subconscious. It's a very subconscious thing. And our whole entire life, like 99% of the things that we do, it's all subconscious. Our heartbeat, our breathing, the peristalsis that moves the food through our gut, it is all subconscious. And most of our programming is from like microbial life. Life on the land and life on the sea, especially on the land, is still, and especially in the past 100 years, we have not caught up to the ways of modern life. And so lately our brain is like, our old brain is like, I don't know what this is different. And that's why disease rates have been so high lately. But this is what will get you back to a normal life. I remember talking to my doctor, like literally, this was fast. 6 months of test, thousands of dollars, hundreds of hours of researching. And then they I think you have Crohn's disease. How do you think? We've done an MRI, couple $100, couple days off work. We've done a colonoscopy. I had to take 2 or 3 days off work for that. Hundreds of dollars. We've done multiple blood tests. Every time I do a blood test, I got to drive halfway across town. It's a pain in the butt. And every time I go to meet with my GI doctor, he can't give me a straight up answer. And the most infuriating thing is every time I ask him what the root cause is, he doesn't know, which is absolute bull. Because they've known the cause of colitis for a very long time. If you go to the 1970s, before Big Pharma took over and ran all the other guys out of business, and they've literally lobbied in the government to make it illegal to not do allopathic medicine. They've made it illegal. But before the 1970s, there was tons of work and study being done that showed that Crohn's and colitis is caused by a traumatic event. And when holistic medicine fails and modern medicine fails, there are great things about holistic and modern medicine to help us manage the symptoms and get through this better. But the main thing driving this is the conflict. And it's not your conscious perception of the conflict, it's your subconscious perception of the conflict. So one of the other huge things, and by the way, I have like a mini version of this at the end of the video and in the video description, so you can watch it in either of those places. So we've already resolved this conflict on a certain level, but when this happens, we're obsessed with it. It like dominates our mind. You get brainwashed, you get hypnotized by this conflict, and you literally project it into every part of your, like, most of the conflicts that I see in my life is like, oh, this is crap I need to throw away. This crap is getting in the way. Whereas somebody might look at it like, this crap is getting in the way of me getting something important, whereas somebody might obsess about it as like, this stuff is so important to me, and I'm just so sad I don't have this, where I'm like angry, like I need to get rid of this crap. So this person, I'll do a better job of this next time. So this person, you know, they were stressed out about money, they were stressed out of their job, and there's all this family drama going on at the time as well. So when he gets the diagnosis of, hey, he has Crohn's disease or colitis, he has colitis, that's another shock. This crappy colitis is getting in the way of me doing my job. You know, so it's like now there's two conflict shocks we got to deal with. Two sets of PTSD reminders or tracks that we have to deal with. So this person, they were getting diarrhea every single time they got a text message because the big fight with their dad happened over the phone. And the big fight with their boss always happened over the phone. And so literally every time he got a text message from an authority figure, he would have to go to the bathroom because it was a subconscious reminder of this traumatic event right here. So one of the things I have you guys do in this 13-day protocol is write down what you're doing when you have to run to the bathroom. And now a lot of people will think, oh, I got angry 5 times a day, you know, and so I can't be angry because angry makes you go to the bathroom. That's not the right, you might get angry or you might not. He could get a text message from his dad and he'd be angry, he'd have to go to the bathroom. He could get a text message from his boss saying, hey, you did good work today, and still have to go to the bathroom. It is a subconscious reminder of the traumatic event. And you can guess what these things are, but you can really only catch them in the act. That is just identifying them. There's really almost nothing to get over most of the time. Making a list, making a timeline, being a detective on mapping this thing out, it somehow brings it to consciousness and stops your gut from going in and out of overdrive. You can take all the best supplements, you can do all the best diets, you can take all the best drugs, whatever that means. You cannot get better from colitis until you do this. Most of the people who say they got better from holistic stuff, you know, the second they go off their holistic tightrope, they have symptoms. And even on the holistic tightrope, I mean, they might do like Instagram posts making it look like they're having a lot of fun, but like literally they're trapped in the kitchen, trapped in the car going to the nearest farm 4 or 5 hours away. And in modern medicine, I mean, if you look at the studies on, the lab studies online on surgeries, they'll be like, oh, 90% of people have, they live a high quality of life, after getting their whole entire colon removed, and they got to wear a bag of crap for the rest of their life. And I'm like, 90%? Really? 90%? And then you start to read the fine print, and it's like, these people still going to the bathroom 10 times a day. These people, when they get the urge to go to the bathroom, if they don't make it to the bathroom within 5 minutes, they're destroying their pants. People with the bag, they're changing their bag like 6 times a day. These bags cost like hundreds of dollars a month to change and maintain. And you'll have to deal with the social anxiety of that as well. Most of these people still have trouble doing all these things because they have not addressed the root cause of the problem. It's like common sense. It's common sense. This is, again, what's the theory? Oh, I gotta, make peace with my dad. Maybe that's the right thing to do. It depends on the situation, but most of the time, it isn't about making peace with your dad. It's about bringing this subconscious conflict in your life to consciousness and its PTSD triggers, bringing those things to consciousness. And if you do that and you still have symptoms, you didn't bring the right PTSD triggers and the right conflict, specifically the conflict shock, to consciousness. And there isn't a lot of talk about this when you start to read the text of German New Medicine. I've been reading a lot of the French books about German New Medicine, and even Dr. Hammer's books himself in German New Medicine. And I wish they would be more clear about that. But this is what I have found has worked the best. This is where the focus needs to be. And I handhold you through this process in my 13-day protocol. I take you through 13 days of teaching you the basics of German New Medicine. This is an issue that I see with German New Medicine courses. They're made for practitioners. They're great. They have a lot of information in them. But for the average person that just wants to learn the bare minimum and get better as fast as possible, I don't need to know how my eyeballs work and how my toenails work and all that stuff. Just tell me what I need to know. This is it. One thing most G&M courses don't teach you is how a traumatized brain works, and how the subconscious works. They don't teach you that. I haven't been across one that teaches us that, or teaching it in a very simple, easy to apply way as fast as possible. So, step number 1, understand the basics of German New Medicine, how the brain works, it's wired for survival, and then making that timeline, recording your tracks, and then last step, which most people don't even need to do, is design their life to be easier, to be less stressful, and if the conflict is still off and on, to head on address that conflict. But you're not going to be, you might have 10 conflicts in your life, and only one of them is causing your symptoms. So it's very important to identify the correct conflict shock, because half the time that fixes it. So that is how you fix colitis. For more details, watch the mini version of this. There should be an end screen here, or it will be down below in the description.